Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you, and hello. I was just finishing up a great conversation with Chris Hand. We oftentimes get outside of the world of Super Talk 99.7 WTN and start going down rabbit holes. My apologies to you. It is 12:05, and hello, and welcome to the Matt Murphy Show. Happy to be here for the next 3 hours. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're certainly appreciative of that. It is Thursday. It is May 23, 2024. This is episode 577 of our proceedings today. It's also LFT 82. That's LFT 82, baby. And if you know, you know. And if you don't know, hit me up on the super text line and I'll tell you what you need to know. Speaking of, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. That is the way to communicate with the show in a direct fashion. Turn a monologue into a dialogue, if you will, and we can communicate on the phone lines. You can also reach us on the aforementioned Members Nutrition Super Text line. Continuing the pleasantries as we get the show underway, we've got a lot of ways to listen to the show on a day-to-day basis. You can tune in on 99.7 FM. That's the radio dial. You can also check us out wherever you stream music or information or news or podcast or whatever. You stream us. Type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, and there you go. With that in mind, we also invite you to run on over to the Supertalk television side of things. Episode 577 is up and running on Supertalk TV. It is brought to you in part by U.S. Pest. U.S. Pest is fueling our presence on Supertalk Television, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and the chat feature over there brought to you by F&M Bank. F&M Bank bringing you your ability to say random things, oftentimes vile and disgusting things. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. It's an unmonitored chat, so what you see in the chat is not being monitored by any eyeballs on Supertalk 99.7 WTN on the regular.
To be fair, I was about to say, I want to throw my hat in the ring. I monitor some of that stuff when I'm in the studio here.
Do you administer it?
I do. I was like, I will put somebody in timeout if they're being naughty. We don't need that on here.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you do that? Mason Fleming, by the way, subbing in for Bell K today. Hey, Mason.
Yeah, I'm stepping up where he's slacking off.
Come on. So how do you click a button there?
Yeah, there's a little timeout feature on here. I can block people on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. So mind your manners as we're talking on the chat here. But only if I'm here. I don't know if anybody else cares as much as I do.
Well, you know what? You said a mouthful there, Mason. I don't
know
the thing. That anyone else cares as much as you do. I agree.
Yeah. I was like, here's the thing. I want us all to stay on topic. I'm all about freedom of speech because that's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're completely off topic and being a little rude in a sense where it's like, you know what, you're not talking about the same topic that we are, or you're harming other people with your words in our chat, there's no need for that. We're trying to keep a family-friendly environment for the most part. Let's keep some of the harsher language out of there if we can.
You know, and I get decency. It. I mean, and I understand. I mean, some people are being provocative just to be a provocateur. Some people are saying things just because they feel like they can get away with it for the shock value of all of that. You try to ignore them. You try to ignore the trolls. It's much like social media, right?
Absolutely,
You try to ignore the trolls, but as an admin, sometimes they take it a step too far. You got to do something about it.
Yeah, got to keep people in line just a little bit.
That's good to know. But just note that, you know, Mason's eyeballs are not always on there. So you might see some things that you don't agree with or you find to be untoward, and we apologize for that in advance. One way or the other, it's a great way to communicate with fellow listeners of Supertalk 99.7 WTN. So we have a busy show, as I was relating to Mr. Hand during the cross there. Busy show today. We have the author of a script, or a co-author of the Reagan biopic script. It is called Reagan. It is a 2024 film that is set to be released, I want to say in August. I want to say the end of August. Now, Howard Clausner is our guest, and he is a local from Franklin, I am told. And he has written a lot of different he's written several different scripts for film, to include Space Cowboys. He wrote The Last Ride. He wrote, he directed The Secret Handshake. He was also writer and producer of that, and he is now a co-writer on the Reagan biopic. We'll talk to him about how he got into that, how he got into writing, how he got into film production, generally speaking. It's mostly a conversation about Howard, And I think he goes by Howie. I'll find out together. We'll find out together at 12:35 as we welcome him to the show. But I'm excited about this movie. I am told that it is true to the spirit of Ronald Reagan. Stars Dennis Quaid, John Voight, Penelope Ann Miller. It's in theaters August 30th. And we're excited about it. They have not begun the official summertime push for the film, but we'll launch that informally as we talk to Howard Clausner today.
Yeah, absolutely.
At 12:35.
Yeah. Fun little tidbit. I mean, it's kind of related. Dennis Quaid playing in the main role there. I actually was on a first-name basis with him for a little bit.
What?
Yeah. Isn't that cool? Used to work over at the Omni Hotel. He's like, he writes country music in his downtime as like a hobby. So he would come into Nashville quite often, and he would stay over at the Omni. And I got on a first-name basis with Dennis Quaid, which is kind of cool.
Like Dennis would say to you,
like, "Hey, Mason, good to see you again."
And you would say, "What's up, Dan?"
I wouldn't go that far. It was more of a...
You call him DQ?
Yeah.
What's up, DQ? What's going on? You know what you should call? You should call him the Blizzard. Because it's DQ. Get it? You know? What's up, Blizzard? What's going on, buddy?
Turn him upside down to make sure he stays all right.
I loved the movie Inner Space.
It's a great movie.
You an aficionado of Dennis Quaid films?
Not aficionado.
Because of your long-standing, solid relationship with the man?
I understood his classic Jeep Wrangler that he drove, and I understood that he was in The Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan, which is the first movie that I saw him in.
Now, when was this?
Pre-COVID, like 2017, 2018.
So here's an interesting thing, and it's a side note to the Reagan movie, but I think it is. I mean, Dennis Quaid he's a good actor to choose. Yeah. I mean, if you've seen him lately, he's 70 years old.
Yeah.
You can young him up a little bit. You can old him up a little bit. And he's got that facial structure that you can see Ronald Reagan.
Absolutely.
In that facial structure. But he had something of a, I want to say I'm remembering this correctly. He had a bit of a religious conversion later on in his life or through his life that has led him to a specific type of movie over the last 20 years. He goes to more faithful films. He likes Christian films with a good Christian-based foundational message. And you see that in a lot of what he has done, over the last 20 years. I was trying to find his filmography here. Hold on. Just to kind of illustrate the point.
So, yeah, pull up the old reliable IMDb.
Oh, yeah. He was, let's see, he was On a Wing and a Prayer. I remember that. He did A Dog's Journey, which was it was a great movie. I have A Dog's Purpose, which I think is kind of A Dog's Purpose was the original, and A Dog's Journey was the follow-up, if I'm saying that correctly. He was in the remake of Footloose, which is,
it was something.
Win some, lose some.
It was a movie.
Win some, lose some.
It was a movie of all time.
Flight of the Phoenix. He was in Flight of the Phoenix, The Day After Tomorrow. The Rookie is what I was thinking of. What a great film that was. I do remember seeing that, and of course The Parent Trap. So we'll enjoy talking with Howard Clausner about the film, his impetus behind the film, his career in film and television, and the budding film and television industry that exists right here in Middle Tennessee. That's coming up at 12:35. At 1:05, Senator Carrie Roberts will be on with us. Senator Carrie Roberts is regularly called a rhino, which stands for Republican in name only. I'm not a Republican, so I don't enter into this name-calling arena that often. But he is often referred to as a rhino by other Republicans or conservatives here in the state of Tennessee. Now, I mention this because recently he was called out as a rhino by Brandon Lewis, who is the proprietor of the Tennessee Conservative News website. That's TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Rhinos allow commercial airline to transport illegal aliens to Tennessee. And then he calls out Todd Gardenhire, John Lundberg, Carrie Roberts, Representative John Gillespie, and Representative Dan Howell. We will give Carrie Roberts an opportunity to respond to these allegations that he allowed a commercial airliner to transport illegal aliens into the state of Tennessee. Now, this was based on a one-sourced Twitter post, an X post, that came out May 20th. So only a few days ago. And I've seen no follow-up to it. And I do think facts matter. I do think truth matters. And I would like to know if this flight actually existed and what it looked like. As I said yesterday, in the grand scheme of things, we don't need to go to Memphis to find illegal aliens. I can find illegal aliens. I can go out of this room and find an illegal alien before I get to Broadway. They are here, and it is uncontrolled. It is undocumented, obviously, and we have to do something about it. Because with that, even with the individuals, if we are to give you the idea that the individuals, many of them coming over here, are looking for a quote-unquote better life, they are bringing with them the bad guys that are looking to take advantage of our system, obviously. And we see that over and over and over again in the news items that pop up on a daily basis with regard to illegal immigration. No one, me, I've been doing this for I'm not calling in a chip here, but I'm telling you, for 24 and a half years now, we've been talking about illegal immigration in the United States of America. And I'm not claiming any special awareness or any unique position on this when I tell you that 24 years ago, my position was exactly the same as it is today. Nothing has changed. That if anyone conversing about this issue is really serious about it, first and foremost, you must stop what's going on, put a hold on what is currently happening to try to get an assessment as to where we are with regard to illegal aliens in the United States of America. And look, I'm willing to have this conversation in language that liberals understand, right? I'm willing to say we must put a pause on it to understand if they're here for positive things or negative things. Are they a drain on society? Are they a net benefit to society? I know the answers to these questions, but I'm willing to have the conversation. I'll feed you baby liberal birds. But I've never wavered on the central point that in order to tackle the issue as it exists, the only way to address it fairly and honestly is to shut the southern border down first. And if you tell me we can't do that, then we're not having a serious conversation. Because you know damn well we can do it if we wanted to do it. So no one on my radio show would diminish the serious burden and the serious nature of illegal immigration, illegal migration, illegal aliens in the United States of America. But at the same time, I'm not prepared to argue like liberals. I'm not going to do it. Liberals make crap up and then pretend that made crap up proves whatever point they're ultimately trying to make. And I think it's important that we don't do that. We don't hand ammunition to the left to suggest that we're doing the same thing that they do on the regular. And with that in mind, I did a little bit of internet sleuthing. I don't pretend to be the best at this type of thing. I did go to the FlightAware website. I really couldn't figure out any flight that would fit the description as laid out by KWAM News Radio in Memphis. The text of the tweet was, just in, sources tell KWAM that a jetliner filled with illegals just took off from LaGuardia Airport in NYC bound for Memphis. Passengers on board are reporting deplorable conditions in the cabin. Well, that's something that I want to know more about. I would like to get eyewitness accounts. I would want to find out why Memphis? Who authorized this? How did they get on the flight themselves? If they are undocumented, I have to show my legal ID in order to get on a flight in the United States of America. How did they get on the flight? Who was responsible for it at the genesis of the flight? Was it the city of New York? Was it the state of New York? Was it the, Joe Biden Department of Immigration and Customs Enforcement? Who was it that did all of these things? The questions ask themselves. Sadly, we don't get a lot of answers. As a matter of fact, silence about this issue. Instead of finding out more about the flight, instead of finding out what the flight number was and where it originated from and where the people originated from and how they got on nothing. Todd Starnes was utilizing a source of his who claimed to be on the plane, so it's a second-hand piece of information that was then posted on the KWAM website. Now, for those of you listening and thinking, well, Murphy, if the broader subject matter is the most important thing, then why are you focusing in on this? Because for me, truth matters. And I'm not comfortable with relating to you information that's not true. I want to verify it for myself. And so if you say to me that there is a jetliner, quote, filled with illegals that came into Memphis 3 days ago, I want to verify that before I repeat it to the people, because you're going to rightly scare the hell out of people in the state of Tennessee. We ought to be afraid of this issue. We ought to have this issue top of mind at every moment of every day. Instead of verifying the accuracy of the information coming out of KWAM in a one-off tweet, which they've not corroborated in any way since posting it, we are now using, and I'm not necessarily blaming anybody for this, I'm just pointing it out, that I am uncomfortable with some conservatives in the state of Tennessee pointing fingers at other conservatives in the state of Tennessee and using this information as an example as to why they are rhinos or awful Republicans or whatever, and I can't even verify that the information that you're using as a prime example is true or not. And I know Brandon Lewis, and we've had a pleasant relationship as far as it goes. I've had him on the air with me. I've had some back channel conversations with him as well. I don't know him personally. But I would think that if your interest is in getting the truth to the people of the state of Tennessee, before you post a headline that says rhinos allow commercial airline to transport illegal aliens to Tennessee, that you would, as a news organization, want to back up that information and verify it to be true. You can make the broader point that people like Roberts and Lundberg and Gardenhire and Gillespie don't truly represent the people of the state of Tennessee without using what might turn out to be a false flag or faulty information as a way to do it. With all of that in mind, I called Carrie Roberts, and Senator Roberts agreed to come on the show. And that does not mean that I have any intention of not holding his feet to the fire with regard to what the state of Tennessee can do more of that the federal government is not doing. The courts have long ruled that immigration policy is under the umbrella and the purview of the federal government. It's one of the few specific roles and responsibilities that constitutionally the federal government actually does have. The question then becomes, if they're not doing their job, what can, if anything, the state of Tennessee do about it? Some, like Brandon and others, are not suggesting, they are saying that we can do a lot more about it without being in violation of the Constitution of the United States. Many of you agree. And I think, as far as it goes, I'm willing to listen to anything and everything this state can do, which is constitutional and not a violation of my civil liberties. Because I'm wondering if the solution is not as problematic as the issue itself. Put it this way. If I told you that it was perfectly permissible, I mean, it's serious. Because this is the, if you want to solve it, this is the way you solve it. If I told you that I was going to make a law that made it perfectly permissible for any law enforcement officer in the state of Tennessee at any point that they want to demand that you offer your paperwork to them, your documentation, for any reason, would you agree to that? That at any point in public, or even in private for that matter, I mean, they knock on your door. Now, I use this example to point out that America, our system, our culture, our society, and our system is predicated on freedom, not on security. Our primary goal was to ensure individual liberty. If you want security, China's a pretty secure place. Y'all with me? So the question is, if I told you that I was granting the authority of every law enforcement officer in the United States of America and here in the state of Tennessee to demand that you offer your paperwork to demonstrate that you are legally authorized to be in the state of Tennessee, would you want that to happen? Is that something you'd be willing to accept as a way of life? 615-737-9986. It's 1224 on Super Talk. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy, Tennessee Men's Clinic wants to see you, fellas. If you're feeling sluggish or run down, if you're not feeling quite yourself, if you've reached a point in your age where you think, well, this is just the way it goes, Murphy. I'm not going to feel the energy to go to the gym anymore. I'm not going to feel like having Friday night fun time anymore. No, I say no to you. You need to get back to an energetic lifestyle through the Tennessee Men's Clinic. You know, many, many men have come through the doors over the last 10 years, and they all say the same thing. I wish I had done this sooner. And at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, they can get you back to life again. They can get your levels back where they need to be. You know, you have certain levels in your body that give you that energy, that motivation, that drive to do the things that you want to do in your life. And oftentimes those levels maybe go down over time. If that is the case for you, then Tennessee Men's Clinic is for you. It's time to make the call, make the appointment, and allow Tennessee Men's Clinic to help you in the way that they've helped thousands of other men in Middle Tennessee. Midtown, they have a location there. Cool Springs, there's a secondary location right there as well. And here's that telephone number to get things started, 615-208-9090, 208-9090 for Tennessee Men's Clinic. You can also find them online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's Friday Eve all day long on the Matt Murphy Show.
It would have been good if you had actually laid the bumper underneath it. Otherwise,
I never said I was good at anything.
Otherwise, it just sounds sloppy and haphazardly put together. It's a weak effort to get under my skin.
But see, like,
if you're going to try to get under my skin, pal, you got to go for it.
What was that? Sorry,
Get ready, Bal.
Couldn't
You're in
hear
for a
you,
problem.
Homer. What was that? Sorry, I couldn't.
Weak. Weak. See, you throw the music down first, then throw the Friday Eve on top.
Here's the thing.
Can we try it again? Can we try it again? Let's try it again. Cut the music. Cut the music. Cut the music. Okay, you cut it. All right, so let's try it again. Now, Mason has learned from Bel K, who's probably working at a Denny's about right now.
Yeah, he's needed
so this is a
little bit of time off, flip him some pancakes.
A great career move for you. How much I hate the phrase Friday Eve. I do. I don't hate Eve generally. I don't mind. I don't mind Christmas Eve. I don't mind New Year's Eve. Those come around once a year. Those are reasons to celebrate because the big day is just a day away. What I hate about Friday Eve is that it comes
just a day away.
And Friday is a work day for most people. So why? So you're celebrating the day before you want to celebrate. It's stupid. If you wanted to do anything, if you wanted to make any sense whatsoever, you would call Friday Saturday Eve. But no, people don't do that. They call Thursday Friday Eve, and I think Thursday is a perfectly acceptable. Wear me out. And now it's too late to do it. All right, try it again when we come back, okay? I'm going to try to calm down.
It's Friday Eve
all
shut up. Day long
voice guy.
On the Matt Murphy Show.
Also, it comes out, it's once a week. Once a week. Wears me out.
But Friday's great. You can't.
Yeah, Friday's.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Friday's great. You know
I
what?
want to start celebrating the day before.
You know what's
There's a reason I enjoy it so much.
What's so wrong with Tuesday?
Nothing's wrong with Tuesday.
What do you have? Nothing's wrong with Tuesday, sir?
Except for the fact that it's actually, you know what? It's better because it's a day away from Monday, which everybody hates. Can't tell me I'm wrong.
I don't mind Mondays. I love what I do. I love visiting with the people here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I like seeing you.
You do?
I like seeing young Jeff.
Jeff's nice, though.
Yeah, that makes one of you.
He's not corrupted yet.
Just going after Mason today.
Yeah.
Get me all beside my... You know why? Because Bel K's infected you, and I don't like it. I think you're a good man.
I was like, it's not fully. I could choose my battles. This is one that I'll stand hard on.
Friday Eve. I think more than anything, it bothers me but if...
At least the title of today's stream, I made acknowledgement of it.
You can't just celebrate the day before the weekend, right? You have to celebrate the day before the weekend.
It's to hype you up.
So why not?
It's the same thing that Christmas Eve gets you in the mindset for.
No, it is not. No, you're just doing that. You're just trolling me now.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, it's proper to get excited for the day that's coming up next, right?
What about what? No.
That's what the eve is for.
Enjoy today.
I do enjoy today because it reminds me that tomorrow is coming.
Today is Thursday. No. You're always waiting on a day away. Today, enjoy today. Let's be present. Let's be in the moment, man. You kids these days with your fancy smartphones and your rollerblades and I don't know what I'm saying.
I was like, you've officially, you've got a little bit of a...
Your doodabbas in your ears and your fancy haircuts and your phones.
That really got out of hand fast.
It's 12:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you. Let's take a break from the politics of the day. I'm looking up at monitor number 2 here, where President William Ruto, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, the president of Kenya, is holding a joint press conference with our current president, Joe Biden. I think this is in the East Room of the White House, and currently the Kenyan president is speaking better English than ours. So there you go. Speaking of presidents of the United States of America, you know, a lot of you are putting Donald Trump right up there with the great Ronald Reagan, our 40th president of the United States of America. Of course, Ronald Reagan is really where I became aware of politics during his presidency in the 1980s. And there's a new film coming out about Reagan. It's a biopic or a biopic, and I'm going to ask my next guest which he prefers. His name is Howie Clausner, and he is one of the screenwriters of the film Reagan that's set to come out in August. But I wanted to talk to Howie just about how he became a screenwriter, how he got into the filmmaking industry, and what he thinks of Middle Tennessee and the fertile ground that exists for a blossoming, a growing of filmmaking here right in our backyard. Howie Clausner joins us on the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Howie, thank you for being with us. How are you, sir?
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me. And I answer to pretty much anything. Howard or Howie is fine. Thank you. Yeah, man. I mean, every now and then Hollywood does it right. They're few and far between these days, I think. But I think we've got a pretty great special project coming your way at the end of the summer. And,
And I know that these rollouts happen at the direction of the movie houses and the production houses. So I know that there's maybe only so much you can say about the film itself. But I'm just curious, first and foremost, where you're from, kind of what your biography is, and how you landed in Franklin.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, I am from the great city and state of Nashville, Tennessee.
All right. Love it.
I grew up here. I went to Hillwood High School, which sadly is no more. It closed last year. But I moved to L.A. very quickly after graduating. I knew I wanted to be in the business that I'm in. I'm a screenwriter, producer. I've been doing it about 30 years. And, about 2006 or so, my wife, the California girl, said, I want to raise my kids in Middle Tennessee. So Franklin it is. So here I am, and still doing what I do. I write and produce movies out here in Franklin.
What is the what is the playing field like in our area? I mean, are we getting good response from government? Is there an opportunity here for more filmmakers like yourself to base themselves in Middle Tennessee and to grow production companies and to actually produce movies? I have a good friend, Cameron Smith, who writes for the Tennessean, who was a part of a group that produced The Ballad of Davy Crockett, which I was very excited about. So these are the types of projects that and the types of things that I love seeing blossoming in Middle Tennessee. And maybe I'm late to the game. Howie, you tell me.
I think you're hitting it right, probably in the third inning of the ball game, and it is doing nothing but fantastic. I left here really in 1980, Matt, because there just wasn't an industry here. I knew I wanted to make movies. That's what I knew I wanted to do, and it was wonderful. I grew up in the music business here, and I grew up, making a couple of commercials here and there. I was an actor, and I went out to Hollywood and figured out real fast, I'm not going to make it in this ocean. So I knew that writing was going to be my thing. And, my own quick, boring story is I finally crashed through writing a movie for Clint Eastwood, Space Cowboys. And that I was a 13-year overnight success right there. But I was able to import everything I learned from him and a bunch of other producers I worked for to come here and set up shop. And I'm about to announce my first project as I-40 Studios very shortly. And I'd love to do it through you anyway, because it will be a Nashville-based music project. I say all that not to say, wow, aren't I wonderful and everything. The time has come. The movie business has come to Nashville, not just because of all these recent imports of folks like me from Southern California. There are a lot, but there's so much homegrown going on, and there's even a lot of political will now through certainly Senator Jack Johnson and a guy I love working with by the name of Steve Abramowitz, who is just moving this ball forward. They're incentivizing. The production is exploding now, and so I really do think. I think we're just sitting on a rocket that's just beginning to light its engines.
Speaking of rockets, you mentioned Space Cowboys. Love the movie.
Thank you.
Talk to me about the inspiration behind the writing of the film. And at what point did a collaboration with Clint Eastwood become a reality? Look, I don't know you, Howie, but for me, I'm kind of fanboying the idea that you've met the man because for me, when it comes to film, he is the definitive man on screen. Talk to me about that relationship.
He is all that. I can't sing this man's praises enough. He's turning 94 next week, and he's just wrapping a movie again as a director.
How about
94
that,
years old, and this guy is directing and producing still. And as he told me, he said, he actually told Trace Adkins this, how do you keep going like this, Mr. Eastwood? Says Trace, he said, you know what? Every morning I look at the old man and say, nope, I'm not going to be him. So he just keeps right on going. It was wonderful. My partner at the time, he and I sold the movie to Warner Brothers. And when I got my chance to hang out on the set and watch Clint and kept talking my way to the next phase and the next phase, I spent a year of my life with him, a little more than a year, just watching this man make a movie. And he was just all that. everything that you think he is that, and just the calm grace of a super successful guy. There's a reason he's just one of the greatest of all time in the American cinema. He just is. So yeah, you can't be fanboy more than I am, believe me. Like, I just absolutely.
Howie Clausner is our guest. He is the one of the script writers of the film that's coming out in August called Reagan. And here's the biggest question I'm going to ask you today, Howie. Do you prefer biopic or biopic?
I would say biopic, but I really I've heard it both ways. I've been doing this stuff for like 40 years of my life. I've heard both terms. I'm like, what? You got the idea either way. So
Sure. I'm a biopic guy, but I could, I'm willing to float either way. I'm not going to make enemies out of friends over the pronunciation of the term. But
right.
Was there always an interest in Reagan? Is this something that kind of came to you, or was there always kind of a seed that you felt like you wanted to write something along these lines?
Yes, on all three. I grew up, I'll just tell you, at Hillwood High School and surroundings. I worked as a volunteer in the Jimmy Carter campaign. And, it was Jimmy Carter. He was a great guy. But it was really in my college years with Reagan. Really, it was the night that he returned to Congress after being shot. And just the charisma and the love of this guy. If anybody's out there old enough to remember that, it was like a 10-minute standing ovation. Democrats, Republicans, just Americans. And it was just one of those things, Matt, where you just lean forward and go, I don't know what this guy's got, but I want it. And so I really just started following him, just really engaging in the process of the 1980s political scene, which was sort of resurrecting what was left of America after a pretty bad 70s. Kind of like what we may be looking at here, in the coming days. I think things are turning. I think they're going to be better. So when Mark Joseph, the producer of this movie, called me and said, would you be interested in writing his story? Oh, man, was I ready. And so for 14 years, I've been on this project, and, I've gotten to meet many of the ones that were inside his White House, and, just wonderful people. I've read everything there is to read on Ronald Reagan. And then you get to work with Dennis Quaid and John Boyd and people like that. And I keep pinching myself saying, I can't believe this actually happened. That's my Reagan story.
I don't know. It's one of those tasks. I wouldn't know how to write a script if you told me, right? But even for someone like yourself, as experienced as you are at writing scripts, to say to you, hey, Howie, we want you to write one on Reagan. Where do you start? The amount of books, the amount of material, it just seems like one of those. I guess it's the same way that you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time?
Answer to that is yes, 100%. And with a quick little parenthesis here, dude, I wouldn't know how to do a radio show like you if my life depended on it. So there you go. Everybody kind of does their thing. I'm a reader, so I had been reading, and as you're going to see, it's not a spoiler alert. This movie is not a political commercial. This is a man's life, and it's really the story. His great battle was with bringing down the Iron Curtain, the Berlin Wall. That's the great. When he found that purpose in his life, really the movie's about him finding his purpose. And when he found that nothing was going to stand in his way. And so that said, I had already been a student of all of that, coming into this project. And then it just became just burnishing all that and talking to a million people that had been there. And so it didn't write itself for sure, but it was the love of my life as a screenwriter.
Tell me, as much as you can, because I know there's an official rollout, and I know that the movie, house wants to do it their own way, and this is kind of an unofficial conversation about what is officially going to happen this summer when we see the promotions and we see the trailer and all of that sort of thing. But give us a flavor of what we can expect when all of us flock to the theaters on August 30th to see this thing.
Well, I think there are things that are already out there, so I'm not doing anything out in front of anyone. And the people that market these things know so much more about this stuff than I will ever know. But I think the big pieces that I would tell you is we actually are going to watch his story through the 100-year-old retired KGB officer who had been watching him for all of his political life, knowing that our enemy is coming. And so that to me was, we sort of, the team kind of came up and was like, oh, that's the way to tell the story. And so to watch it through the skeptical eyes of his old adversary. So I think that to me was way more interesting to write and be a part of. And now that I've seen almost the final cut here, like, yeah, that's the part that John Boyd plays. And it's just, man, oh man, is it fun to watch an Academy Award winner like that work. So it's not really a spoiler alert that isn't out there. It's already out there. So I could say that with a lot of confidence. But I think Dennis just absolutely just brings it as Ronald Reagan. You're probably seeing him out there now. There are pictures of him. You look at those pictures and think, man,
can I just tell you, and as an aside, Howie, and I don't know if you feel the same way, I think about, Dennis Quaid from, The Right Stuff or Dennis Quaid from years ago, right? And if you told me 20 or 30 years ago, hey, that guy's going to look the part of Ronald Reagan, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Right. But he has aged. Right. He has aged into it, and you see the promotional poster, and I'm like, that's Reagan.
That is Reagan. And you want to know what's really funny? When I asked Dennis this on set, I said, man, the way you're bringing this, it's almost Reagan, but there's still some Dennis Quaid in there. And he told me, he said, you know what, when I was growing up, I wanted to be Rich Little. Does everybody remember Rich Little, the greatest impersonator that ever lived? Dennis Quaid can impersonate anybody. And he said, my challenge here is not to go through this movie doing a Reagan impersonation. Mm-hmm. And, in other words, bring this character to life. But it is breathtaking how you really do think I'm sitting in a room with Ronald Reagan right now.
Let me, one quick question just about the craft of screenwriting. Help us understand, when you write a script, do you have collaboration with directors, or does it change director to director, film to film, production to production? For example, does it change your collaboration or your conversations with Clint Eastwood? Would that change between then and your collaboration with Sean McNamara, who's directing this film? Does it just depend on the production house and the director themselves?
It depends on the director, for sure. With Clint Eastwood, the terror of mine and Ken Kaufman's life is that he basically took the script and said, well, okay, let's shoot it. Thinking to ourselves, if this doesn't work, it's all on us. So you kind of like it when the director says, no, I want to be very collaborative in this process, which Sean McNamara, in the right way, is kind of almost on the other side of the spectrum. He's big into the development. And, this was a real team thing. So, the producers also, this movie is the labor of their lives. This is the hill that they die on. They love it so much. So this was a real team thing, creatively and production-wise. So sometimes you just hand it in and hope for the best, and sometimes you are on the phone every day for 14 years, which was pretty much my life on this.
Well, look, I appreciate you. I feel like we're introducing some folks in the listening audience to the fact that this film is coming out later on in the summer. I'm very, very excited about it, and I know that our Middle Tennessee community will be excited about it as well. And I just want this to be the first of many conversations. I'd love to have you in, Howie, later on in the spring to the summer and continue the discussion, talk about filmmaking in Middle Tennessee, and a special thank you to Steve Abramowitz of Heartland Journal, because he brought us together, and I do appreciate Steve for doing that. He's a great guy, and man, I appreciate the fact that you're here and you're writing and you're producing really great family-friendly content for Tennessee and beyond.
Spectacular. I will come anytime you call. And everybody, August 30th, go ahead and put it on your calendar. Come on now.
Oh, yeah, we'll remind them. Don't worry. We're going to remind them plenty. Howie, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure, man.
All right, take care. There's Howie Clausner, who is the screenwriter of the film Reagan, who lives right here in Middle Tennessee, in Franklin, has written a lot of scripts over the years, and this is set to be probably Space Cowboys was a pretty big film, but this is set to be pretty big as well, with Dennis Quaid starring as Ronald Reagan, and it's a pleasure to have Howie on. 52 after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So we've got a billboard coming up with the Glock store. Have you guys seen the the template for the billboard. So there's a big deal happening at Glock Store, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. It is their big 4th annual open house, and somehow they decided to put ugly radio mugs on a billboard. So there's Chris Hand, there's Matt Murphy, and then there's Dan Mandis. And it's going to be difficult to see Matt Murphy or Chris Hand based on the bright, shiny light that's bouncing off of Dan's forehead. But if you can see us, we're there. I'm doing this specifically for Mandis. If you can't see us, we're there and we're smiling for you, and we'd love to see you. As a matter of fact, you need to see the billboard for yourself and tell Dan that it's not that bad. He's the one that is suggesting that it is. One way or the other, we want to see you in all seriousness. 4th annual open house starting on June 1st at 10 a.m. in the morning at the Glock Store. They're on Airlane Drive off of Elm Hill Pike. Giveaways galore. They have a $1,700 custom-made Glock that they're giving away, and all you have to do is come by and register. You don't have to stay for the entire time. Now, we want you to stay for the entire time because you can tour the facility. You can look at some of the incredible guns that they have on incredible sale. I mean, I don't know that I can go through the amount of sales that they have happening with their guns at the Glock Store on this big open house day, but they are substantial discount savings going on day of the sale. So, June 1st, 4th annual open house. Be there at the Glock Store. Find out more information at glockstore.com. That's glockstore.com, and look for that billboard for the Glock Store.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Supertalk 99.7 WTN. From the fun and frivolity of a Reagan biopic to the more serious issue of illegal immigration in the state of Tennessee, we will speak to Senator Carrie Roberts coming up at 1:05 this afternoon. That's right after the news. And that's happening right now on Supertalk 99.7 W. You can get involved, by the way, if you have any questions, 615-737-9986, either via Members Nutrition Super Text line or phone lines. Back after this.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. Arranging to do business on several economic fronts, the U.S. and Kenya. President Biden hosting Kenya's President Ruto, the first state visit to the U.S. by an African leader in more than 15 years.
We're launching a new era of technological cooperation between the United States and Kenya. That means new partnerships with industry, artificial intelligence, semiconductors, and cybersecurity.
The Supreme Court preserving a Republican-held South Carolina congressional district. ABC's Devin Dwyer in Washington.
It means the first district remains solidly Republican in the 2024 election. Justice Elena Kagan dissented, said this decision will invite now more states to use race when drawing their maps, although this decision did not create a sweeping new standard around this issue of racial gerrymandering. This was a heavily fact-intensive decision in South Carolina, but a setback nonetheless for those who live on those islands.
Filing an antitrust suit to break up Live Nation Ticketmaster, the Justice Department, and 30 state attorneys general. Attorney General Merrick Garland.
Fans pay more in fees. Artists have fewer opportunities to play concerts. Smaller promoters get squeezed out. And venues have fewer real choices for ticketing services.
Live Nation denies the allegations. Word from the government folks who watch over weather and climate.
NOAA is predicting an above-average 2024 Atlantic hurricane season.
NOAA's chief, Dr. Rich Spinrad. Hurricane season starts June 1st. The holiday travel weekend is well underway, says ABC's Trevor Ault. He saw it firsthand at LaGuardia Airport.
This is actually expected to be the single busiest day through the Memorial Day weekend. Right now, Thursday, a lot of people taking off, and into the afternoon and evening is, of course, when a lot of people are really going to get going. But even this morning, we were out there on the tarmac. Every plane that we saw was fully booked.
ABC's Trevor Ault. You're listening to ABC News.
From grown We like. Here we are, and here we go. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show getting underway for hour number 2. Thank you for being with us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. If you're holding on to talk immigration, hang in there. We'll get to you in a moment. Had a great conversation with Howie Clausner, who is the screenwriter of the upcoming biopic of Ronald Reagan, set to be released in theaters August 30th, just in time to remind ourselves of what a president ought to be and what we ought to do come November. And I think we all know what we're talking about there. In the meantime, so there was this interesting story, and I have a guest on to discuss it. It was a story out of Memphis, Tennessee. And it came to us from KWAM, which is normally a trusted source of mine. Todd Starnes is a part of KWAM, their news radio 1990 AM in Memphis. And they posted a tweet Monday that said the following. Just in, sources tell KWAM that a jetliner filled with illegals just took off from LaGuardia Airport in NYC, bound for Memphis. Passengers on board are reporting deplorable conditions in the cabin. So I wanted to do a little more sleuthing to find out exactly what was going on and to get some questions answered about what the hell's happening here. I mean, who's responsible for this? I mean, typically, if I am to get on a flight, I have to show identification. If you're telling me that there's a flight filled with illegal aliens, I want to know how they got on the flight. Did they have documentation? Where did they come from? Where was their point of origin? Where did they go through? Who put them on the plane? All of these questions remain up in the air because we're getting no further information. KWAM has given us no additional information. But with that one tweet, several other news outlets picked up on the story and have followed up on the story by actually saying that certain lawmakers are responsible for this commercial airliner having the ability to transport illegal aliens into the state of Tennessee. As a matter of fact, from Tennessee Conservative News and Brandon Lewis, the headline, Rhinos allow commercial airline to transport illegal aliens to Tennessee. And right there, there's a graphic showing Senator Todd Gardenhire, Senator John Lundberg, Representative John Gillespie, Representative Dan Howell, and Senator Carrie Roberts, suggesting that these individuals were making it permissible for these types of flights, which we've not verified, by the way, to come into the state. To speak to this, we invited Senator Carrie Roberts, and he accepted our invitation to be on the show with us. Senator Carrie Roberts is a Republican member of the Tennessee Senate for the 23rd District, which includes portions of Robertson, Dixon, Cheatham, Humphreys, and Hickman County, and he joins us on the Matt Murphy Hotline this afternoon. Senator, good afternoon. Thank you for being with us.
Good afternoon, Matt. Pleasure to be with you today.
I've not been able to confirm that this story is real. I've gone on to FlightAware trying to get to the bottom of it because I think it would be concerning for all Tennesseans if this were, in fact, the case as described by the text of the tweet. Are you aware of the tweet, and have you been able to do any research on it, Carrie?
I'm aware of the tweet, and I haven't seen any evidence whatsoever that it's anything but internet, gossip or rumor. You can do a flight tracker, and you can see that there's very limited flights from LaGuardia into Memphis, so I don't know. I did a Google search last night just to see if there were any pictures or follow-up news story. I couldn't find anything.
I couldn't either, which is concerning because I don't want to base conversation on something that popped up on the internet and that some news or outlets or websites ran with. At the same time, it demonstrates an underlying concern that many Tennesseans have about the issue of immigration. And there has been a suggestion that you, Senator, and some of your fellow members of the General Assembly have not done everything the state of Tennessee could have done in order to tackle this issue from a state perspective. I'm sure you've heard this. How do you respond to it?
Yeah. Well, there's a short answer and a long answer. And the short answer is no, and that's ridiculous. And someone who would make that accusation doesn't understand the way the law works. Let me ask you something, Matt. Is it illegal to kill somebody?
Of course.
Of course. And yet we still have murders all the time. Is it illegal to speed? Of course. And yet people speed all the time. I mean, just because you pass a law doesn't mean that you change behavior. But let's think about this one for a moment. Let's say that plane did actually land in Memphis, and let's say that there were 15, 25, 50, 100, whatever the number is, quote unquote, illegal aliens on that flight. So is there anything that we could have done passing a law that would have stopped that? Well, the law in question goes all the way back to 2007, 2008, where you would find somebody who was guilty of transporting a quote unquote illegal alien. And that's a problem in and of itself. I'll come back to it. $1,000. And oh, by the way, we're going to exempt out bus drivers, pilots, people like that. They're just working for a living. And more problematic, we're going to create this religious exemption for the NGOs that have been so guilty of resettling people. So that's been on the books since 2008. No one has ever been charged under that. So this past year, there was this idea that we'd pass a law that would do basically three things. Number one is we would increase the fine from $1,000 to $5,000. Number two, we would eliminate the common carrier exemption. And number three, we would eliminate the religious exemption. Well, out of those three things, the third one is probably the only one that would have any, consequence whatsoever. But here is the larger problem. The larger problem is, what do you mean when you say illegal alien? Because I think you and I know what we're talking about, but the problem is that term is not defined legally in Tennessee code. It's not even defined in federal code. And so if you end up passing a law, which we already did, admittedly, and you use a term that ultimately gets tested in court, do you really want a crazy liberal judge defining that term for us? So this bill came to the Judiciary Committee, and we basically kind of sent it back to the drawing board because it's not the job. And I know the Judiciary Committee in the Senate gets thrown under the bus a lot, but it's not the Senate Judiciary's job to fix a bill that has problems. You say to the sponsor, hey, you know what? Here are the problems that we see with the bill. Could you fix them and could you bring it back? Because it's the sponsor's job to amend the bill, not the committee on the fly when you got 100 bills on the calendar.
Not to interrupt you, but I mean, we see amendments happen in committee all the time, don't we?
All the time, and more so in the House and the Senate. And so the thing is, in theory, an amendment that's done in committee would be something that would not be substantive in nature. But you also have to think about the timing of session. If you wait until the last calendar of the Judiciary Committee, because we're in there January, February, March, April, if you wait until the end of April to run a bill, there's no opportunity to go back to your office and work on it and come back. And so we've got 100-some bills on the calendar, and if it's not ready for prime time, and this is some inside baseball that a lot of people don't know. If you wait until the last calendar to run a bill, you're trying to do one of two things. Number one, you either don't care about it, and this is your way of saying to your House sponsor or constituent, well, I ran the bill, and it didn't work out. Or you're trying to do a cram down. You're trying to push it as it is without any.
Wait, so you're suggesting that Joey Hensley doesn't care about 2802?
What I'm saying is
well, you just said it. You just said it.
I am saying that my guess would be that this bill probably wasn't that important to Joey. I didn't ask him directly, and he's a dear friend. But we signaled to him.
Let's talk about you. Why wasn't it? I mean, because look, Carrie, I don't know. I don't.
You have to fix that.
I don't know you, right? Well, then how is any law on the books regarding illegal alien activity in the state of Tennessee? How is it enforceable? How are any of these laws enforceable on the book?
Well, first of all, you have to back up and say we can't preempt federal code, and federal code is pretty explicit when it comes to this topic. The problem is it's not being enforced federally. There's plenty of code on, in what we call USC versus, Tennessee code, TCA, but it's not being enforced. And so what we can't do from a Tennessee standpoint is we can supplement federal code, but we can't overwrite federal code. So in this particular case, the bill is not a bad idea at all.
Wait a minute. The way that the states challenge the authority of the federal government to make certain definitions along these lines is to challenge them in court.
Yeah, you can, but here's the question.
Then why aren't we? Is illegal? Let's start over. Is illegal alien? Sure. Are illegal aliens a problem in the state of Tennessee?
Absolutely.
Is the federal government? Asked and answered. Is the federal government doing as much as it should do to protect Tennessee citizens from illegal alien activity?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so do you believe that the General Assembly can do more as a state to protect Tennesseans from illegal alien activity that might be criminal in nature?
Absolutely.
Tell me what.
So take this bill, for example. You could have fixed this bill and you could have passed this bill, and then you could ask people, I mean, granted, in a local jurisdiction, you may have a DA that doesn't enforce it, but the key is the reason, this is one of the hardest things to explain, Matt, is when you're in favor of something ideologically or principally, but you look at the bill and the language of the bill and you see that it's got problems with the language or it's got unintended consequence, whatever the case might be, and you realize if I vote for this bill, I'm going to create another problem or I'm not going to solve the problem or whatever the case might be. And so you can come along with a bill like this and you've got to define the term illegal alien, because to one person that might mean somebody who
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure. No, you're fine.
Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you define illegal alien?
Because he waited until...
No. Why didn't you, sir? You've said that it's a problem. You said that Tennessee citizens are in more danger because of illegal alien activity. You said the federal government's not doing everything that it can. Why did you not take it up for yourself as a senator to do your job and define illegal aliens so that we could move forward protecting Tennessee citizens?
Because I was doing my job with a bunch of other bills that we're voting on dealing with. That's Joey's
So it wasn't. So you're saying that this bill was not a priority for you?
No, what I'm saying is that it is a very complicated topic, and Joey needed to fix that, not us. When you come to the Judiciary Committee, you're not coming with a work in progress for us to sit here and sort out and work out.
So are you willing to say the same thing to, family members who have seen loved ones killed at the hands of illegal aliens in the state of Tennessee? Are you going to say that to them when they come to you and ask you why didn't you do anything?
Well, first of all, that's already illegal activity, and they're already here illegally. The question is passing a bill that fines somebody $5,000 going to change that? How is that going to stop a plane on the tarmac in Memphis from being unloaded?
You create a dynamic by which you force the federal government to defend their indefensible policies with regard to illegal immigration.
Let me ask you a question. What about Joey's bill would have stopped a plane from landing in Memphis and 10, 15, 100 people unloading, disembark? The bill had nothing to do with them. It had to do with fining a pilot. That's it.
No, it had to do with fining a business.
Oh, right. Well,
it seems to me that the genesis of this, or maybe that there are some in the General Assembly that are hesitant to go after illegal alien activity because so many in the Chamber of Commerce wing of the Republican Party don't want that to happen because they benefit from the low ball salaries that they can pay illegal alien labor in the state of Tennessee, and that's what I think.
Are you aware that we just completely undid the Chamber of Commerce's 2022 law regarding that very topic? Do you know that we undid that this past session?
Are you aware that there are many individuals that own businesses that benefit from illegal alien labor in the state?
Absolutely there are. And we undid, the Chamber of Commerce had, along with the National Federation of Independent Business, was pushing licensure, we call it occupational licensure. The federal code calls it commercial licensure. For people, and the whole premise was all these poor DACA kids that got drugged across the border by the parents, no fault of their own. They need to be able to have these occupational licenses. Well, the problem is when you talk about DACA, you're not just talking about kids that got drugged across the border by the parents. You're talking about all these people, for example, that Biden is paroling into the United States every month, given a work authorization, given a phone, given some cash, and telling them we're going to defer any deportation action for the next couple of years.
Hold on. Do you think, I just want to get back to this for a second. So on 2802, you're saying the sole reason that you voted against it in Judy is because it did not define the term illegal alien?
It did not define the term illegal alien, and it didn't carve out people like school bus drivers who were doing their job.
So you wanted
if you had a school bus driver, in Robertson County, Tennessee, chairman of the Republican Party in Robertson County, Tennessee is a school bus driver, it would have fined him $5,000 a kid for knowingly transport a kid that he knows is a DACA kid, to the thing. Now, see, this is the confusion of all this, Matt, because the question is, what's your definition of illegal alien? Is DACA illegal alien? What if somebody has a work authorization? Is that illegal alien? They don't have citizenship. So are you talking about citizenship, or are you talking about the right to be here?
I mean, hold on, Carrie, I didn't intend this conversation to go this way, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, but are you sitting here on the radio today telling me that you're having a difficult time understanding what an illegal alien is?
I'm telling you the words matter, and when you get into
I'm telling you that you sound like the type of politician that doesn't need to be serving the people of the state. I mean, do you know what we're talking about when we're talking about an illegal alien? Yes or no, man?
Yeah, I know what we're talking about.
You had the opportunity in judiciary to figure it out. You had the opportunity to protect the citizens of this state and the people that are legally here, and you chose not to by playing word games so that you could just pass on this bill.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry you see it that way, and I'm sorry you don't understand the topic.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. How else?
You keep interrupting me every time I say something.
Carrie,
I'm trying to give you an explanation that I think your listeners would understand.
You said I didn't understand it. You said I didn't understand it. I asked you.
Don't
Carrie,
let me finish.
Carrie, I'm going to let you finish. I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to get out of the way.
That illegal alien is a term that has to be defined in code in order for it to be enforceable.
And you're saying that it's not. You're saying it's not defined in Tennessee code. Are you saying it's not defined?
There is no agreed upon definition of what illegal alien is unless you define it in code. Because a liberal has one view, a moderate Republican has another view, a conservative Republican has another view. You have to have the same definition for every single person. Joey Hensley knew this. He could have put the definition in Tennessee code.
You could have put the definition in. Sir,
no,
you could have done.
Yes, you could. You have not been a judiciary committee.
You know
when you've got 100 bills on the calendar, and you're trying to get them through.
Look,
and
don't lie to somebody else. Lie to somebody else.
In January, in February, in March, or in April, when it could have been worked on.
People are being impacted today.
The very last. Then why did he not come in January and work on the bill?
You keep blaming Joey. I'm blaming you. Why did you not amend the bill? You had the opportunity to do it in Judy if you wanted to.
It's not my bill because I was busy passing the law that undid the Chamber of Commerce bill in 2022.
So you're saying illegal aliens in the state of Tennessee.
No. I did something of consequence. Joey Hensley's bill wasn't going to change anything. It wasn't going to stop a plane from landing in Memphis, Tennessee. But what we did was we passed a law that said you can't give an occupational license to somebody who is here illegally. We were spending our time working on some serious things that make a difference, and his bill wasn't going to stop that plane from landing in Memphis, and it wasn't going to stop anyone from getting off that plane, whether on a plane, whether on a train, whether in an automobile. It wasn't going to change a single thing.
Do you support?
And what we did is we were working on a bill that completely undid what the Chamber of Commerce spent hundreds, if not millions of dollars to pass a couple of years ago, not just in the state of Tennessee, but I believe 28 other states, and we completely undid that. So we're not magnetizing the state of Tennessee for people who would come here illegally to work and try and get some kind of occupational licensure. There's a whole lot of things that we're working on, and this is one singular thing of which the benefit would have been extremely dubious that everybody seems to be focused on, and yet it wasn't going to stop that plane from landing in Memphis, Tennessee, period.
Do you support it being illegal, as it currently is, the prohibition for any person to transport an illegal alien into the state?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But it
how is that? Excuse me. Follow-up question. How is that bill? Is that law currently in your in your understanding, constitutional? Does it meet constitutionality?
The law is constitutional.
As it's currently written. Okay, all right. So wait a minute. No, excuse me. Let me follow up, because this is very important.
Hey, life doesn't have
allow me to follow up. Allow me to follow up. This is very important, Carrie. So you support the prohibition of any person from transporting an illegal alien into the state. You just said you do.
Yes.
How is that bill legal or lawful if it doesn't define illegal aliens, which you said it doesn't?
It's not that it's unconstitutional or anything like that. It's that you put yourself in a position where you allow a
Have we ever been sued because of the current law? Have we been sued because of the current law?
We have not been, to my knowledge.
But you're suggesting that we will. Oh, okay. But we will. But we will be. We haven't been sued because of the current law. This new bill would remove the common carrier portion of the bill. It would, and
I don't think it's the common carrier. I think it's the NGOs. I think it's the Catholic charities of the world that would probably sue.
So you're saying the current law and the current law defines illegal aliens perfectly acceptably to you?
No, the current law does not define.
But you said you support the current law.
What I'm saying is I support the fact that people should not be able to knowingly transport.
You said you support the current law.
Okay. What I said was you asked me if I support the fact that you can't legally transport someone who's here illegally. I agree with that, but the existing law is not well done.
Mm-hmm. So, but you support the existing law.
No, what I said a moment ago.
You just said you did.
Okay. Matt, first of all, life is not black and white, and life is not a bunch of yes and no answers. Okay? Sometimes you've got to explain something so somebody understands the underlying reason, and I have tried to do that. What I've tried to explain to you is this. I've tried to explain that we have a law in the books since 2008 that already makes this activity illegally. That law has never been used. Second of all, I've tried to explain that for some reason back in 2008, they did not define the term illegal alien. To one person, that means citizenship. To another person, that means they don't have work authorization. To another person, that means they've overstayed a visa, or any number of things. You've got a whole bunch of different buckets of people who don't have United States citizenship who are here. And some are allowed to be here because they're a refugee, and some are not because they crossed the border. So when you and I talk about illegal alien, generally speaking, we're talking about people who crossed the border and did it illegally, but that term is not defined in law. And so what I'm saying is it is incumbent on the sponsor of a bill to make sure that the language in his bill or her bill is defined in code so we don't leave it in the hands of some crazy liberal judge to come along and say, well, it's only going to be this one, little person who has not been paroled. For example, Biden is paroling all of these people in the United States, but do they meet your definition of illegal alien? They ought to. What happens if a liberal judge comes along and says, well, that's not an illegal alien? Because Biden paroling is the federal term. Biden has paroled these people into the United States who've crossed the border. He's given them work authorization, and he's given them deferred action. Is that an illegal alien or not? Well, in my book, it is. But what if a liberal judge comes along and says, no, it's not? Well, let's just solve the problem up front by getting the language right. This is one of the most complicated areas of law of which I'm aware. If you talk to people like John Harris of the Tennessee Firearms Association, I just spoke to them Tuesday night, and we were talking about this very thing and about how complicated this area of law is. And these terms are terms that have to be very, very clearly defined. Otherwise, you have a misapplication or an ignorance of the law that's not being used. The people in my district elected me to help get these words right. And you're sitting here saying it's my responsibility to fix Joey's bill. And what I'm saying is, hey, I'm working on my own bill. I don't have time to fix his bill. And oh, by the way, one of the bills that I was working on has far greater impact on illegal immigration than the bill that he was working on. And he may disagree with that, and that's fine. He's a dear friend. But I think the bill that I was spending my time working on, that apparently a lot of people at some of these websites don't understand because none of them have talked about it, is one of the most consequential bills that we have done in the General Assembly over the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years with respect to illegal immigration. And And so to sit here and say that, I didn't fix his bill, I got my own bills to work on. It's his job to fix it.
Just want to make sure you get the last word here, Carrie. You're angry at me for engaging in a robust debate,
Matt,
but
listen,
just want to make sure you get the last word.
Okay. You're right. You and I have never met before. I don't know who you are. I get frustrated on this situation because
I don't blame you.
When I got elected, in the Tea Party movement, and I had no understanding of the way a lot of this stuff works, the nuances of things, and how stuff gets done. Throughout the years, I have stayed very true to my conservative principles. And I said before, one of the hardest things to explain sometimes when you agree with something principally, that you look at the language and you go, man, I don't want to give that to a liberal judge. I don't want to hand that over to a liberal judge.
But you could have fixed it.
I believe it was beyond my ability in that period of time to verbally offer the amendment that could have fixed it.
You chose not to fix it. I mean,
no. Well,
I know you talk like you talk.
Sometimes you have to know. Sometimes you have to know your limitations.
Well, I mean, you could have helped. You could have helped to fix it and pass it, but instead you killed it. That's okay. It's fine. That's what you did. That's fine.
There is no immigration attorney on the Senate Judiciary Committee. There's no one who was going to just sit here and say, here is a term of art that we can use to redefine this bill and amend this bill on the fly and do it that way. And
maybe look at you're saying the 08 statute did not define. Are you saying the 08 statute did not define any of the terms?
No, it didn't define it.
Right, because most of your constituents don't need a lawyer to tell them what it means to be illegal.
I would agree that you and I would agree on what an illegal alien is.
Mm-hmm.
But to your friends on the left, they're going to have a different definition. To the people you go to church with, they're going to have a different definition. You're going to find different definitions wherever you go as to what is, quote unquote, an illegal alien. And so you go to TCA and you don't find the definition there. You go to federal code and you don't find the definition there. And so you either use a term that is defined or you define the term. And it is not as easy as it sounds, because even though you and I think we are, and part of the problem with my understanding of this topic, for example, in working on this bill this past year, I discovered that the knowledge that I had was very small compared to
do we need to repeal based on the possibility of a liberal judge coming in here and misdefining illegal aliens? Do we need to repeal the 08 bill and do something different there?
I don't know that it needs to be repealed, but I think it needs to be
based on your logic. It does, right?
But if you could fix it.
I mean, but based on your logic, couldn't a liberal judge do the same thing with the 08 legislation that you're claiming that they would have done with this?
If it was challenged in court, but frankly, it's so.
But it hasn't been.
No, but that's right.
But you're saying this one would have been because you just knew that it would have been.
Because the coverage that was provided in 2008 law, and what I was told, I wasn't there in 2008, but what I was told was the NGO exemption was amended into the bill based on whatever kind of wheeling and dealing took place when that bill was discussed. So that
I got 30 seconds, but it's yours.
Well, that carving out of the Catholic charities, you look at the people who are your big offenders, and they got carved out of it, and they need to be taken out of it. There's no question about it. The bill needs to come back. It needs to come back with a definition. It needs to come back with what you're going to do with the school bus drivers and
will
things
you
like
commit
that.
Will you commit to sponsoring the bill?
I've already said repeatedly I will happily work on this bill.
Okay, well, great.
But it just needed more work than what we could do at that present time. And Matt, I am not at all offended that you're asking tough questions. That's the way.
I know it got very heated, and
we're good.
I apologize to the audience. Carrie, thank you.
Please don't. You're looking out for your listeners, and you're doing the right thing.
Well, I mean, I thank you for the call. I got to go. I just have to run. I'm being whipped into a commercial break, which I have to take. We've already skipped one. That is Senator Carrie Roberts. A lot of strong reaction to not only the conversation, but the style of conversation. We'll get to that in a moment. You know, protection begins with U.S. Pest. They like to say that at U.S. Pest, and it is true. You know, you go to the website at U.S. Pest, and you'll see the different things that they do, residential, commercial work. They offer termite protection. You can get a free inspection, and they ask you right there on the website. If you go to uspest.com, you'll see it for yourself. Let us know a little bit about you and your home, and you'll receive a complimentary inspection and estimate from a professional today. You get started by selecting the reason that you're asking about U.S. Pest, whether it's ants or, listen to this. Ants, bees, beetles, bedbugs, centipede, cockroaches, crickets, earwigs, fleas, flies, hornets, ladybugs, millipedes, mosquitoes, rodents, pillbugs, scorpions, silverfish, spiders, stink bugs, ticks, wasps, yellow jacket, or other. I mean, there's a lot of bugs out there that are all trying to get in your business. You don't need that. You need U.S. Pest in your life. Give a call today at 590-1260. That's 615-550-1260 for U.S. Pest. They guarantee their best. They are the best in the business, and they will get you taken care of when it comes to a free home inspection of your home. U.S. Pest. Call today. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for the TMJ Sleep Apnea and Solution, or the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Get it right, Murphy. You know, it's Dr. Stephen Poss. I love Dr. Poss, not just what he's done for me, but what he's done for all of you. And I talked about him for a good while before I became a client of Dr. Poss's. Let me tell you that experience. So Dr. Poss offers an alternative, and it's in major medical networks. So, I mean, major insurance companies like Aetna, BCBS, Cigna, United Healthcare, TRICARE for the military, they cover this, right? So he can have you covered in that regard. They have 2 offices in Brentwood and Murfreesboro. They are for individuals that have sleep apnea, mild to moderate sleep apnea, but cannot wear a CPAP. I never could imagine wearing a CPAP. So I know that it would not have been in the cards for me. And I wasn't aware that I had sleep apnea. I talked to Dr. Poss about my lack of energy in the mornings, and he said, you know, you need to get a sleep test done. I got a sleep test done, and guess what? I have sleep apnea. Although I don't snore that much, my sleep apnea is there. 25% of Americans have sleep apnea and are unaware of it. It could be causing you major medical issues in your life. Let's get with Dr. Poss and find out what the first steps are to find out if an appliance is right for you. drposs.com. That's drposs.com for Dr. Stephen Poss and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, a lot of strong reaction to our conversation. Look, I don't know what to tell you. I do not suffer politicians gladly. And I know a lot of you hate the way that I bulldog those types of interviews, and that's fine. Carrie Roberts, I don't know him. I asked him to be on the show. He agreed to be on the show. I appreciate that. I'm glad that we seem to be fine toward the end of that interview. He said that we have a 2008 law that's in place that he supports. That 2008 law makes it illegal to transport an illegal alien into the state of Tennessee. It carved out an exemption for common carriers and for NGOs. By the way, NGOs are a major problem with regard to illegal aliens in the United States of America. NGOs are making tremendous amounts of money within the Biden administration. I'm not saying any in Tennessee, but they are. And Carrie Roberts did not shy away from his support of the 08 law, but then he said that he voted to kill a bill that would have increased the fine and would have removed the exemption. I'm not even saying I support the bill. I just, his reasoning was that the bill did not define illegal alien. Well, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you help Joey Hensley do that? Well, I don't have time to do that. Well, okay, well then, whatever you think of Carrie Roberts, he's not my enemy. I'm not going to make him my enemy. It is what it is. The interview is what it is. He told you where illegal alien activity is on his priority list, based on saying that he didn't have the time to fix it for Joey Hensley and he'll work on it next year or whatever. So that's fine. $76.62 says, Jesus, Matt, it's not his bleeping job. Lay off. You're coming across as a douche canoe. 4311, don't be a jerk, Matt. Sandra says, just got to the crux of it. It's not my job. 5069, the American people are sick and tired of listening to spineless so-called Republicans talk a bunch of double talk blank while our country continues to melt the freak down. 3269, hang up on him. He's making you look dumb. 6424, this is the most ridiculous, hair-splitting, mamby-pamby, mushy-mouth, horse-pucky load of whale poo I've ever heard. Matt, I love the show and I'm a fan, but I think he's being, I love Matt and I'm a fan, but I think he's being unfair. I know, I have a tendency of over-talking people that I think are lying to me. I don't know if he's lying or not. I mean, it might be the illegal alien thing altogether. Could be. I don't know. I have a difficult time believing that the reason. Maybe it's just me. Y'all think Carrie Roberts is against illegal alien activity in the United States of America, against illegal alien activity here in the state of Tennessee, but the reason that he killed this bill in committee is because it did not define illegal alien, and he was worried that some future liberal judge somewhere in the state of Tennessee would take this bill and mishmash the term for some purpose that would go against the spirit of the bill, despite the fact that we have a bill on the books that does a lot of these current things, and no liberal judge has ever done that in that bill that was passed in 2008. Okay. I'm happy to let politicians tell half-truths to you if that's what you want, but I don't think that's what you want. I don't think that gets to the heart of protecting the people of this state. I don't think it gets to the heart of defending as best we can in an open and freedom-loving United States of America, a country that believes in freedom of movement. I don't believe, I don't believe that's what stopped him from voting for this bill, but I mean, he said it was, so there it is. 149 on Super Talk. USS is the company that you've trusted in your crawl space for well over 30 years, and they're now offering mold treatment at USS. Perfect timing with all of the rain and humidity that we've been having lately. Maybe you've noticed some musty smells inside of your home. You might have mold in your crawl space. Mold spores travel up through the home into the air that you breathe. You can turn your crawl space into a healthy space with United Structural Systems Complete Microbial Growth Treatment. They don't just treat the mold, they treat any type of growth that could be eating away at your floor joists. If you have moisture in your crawl crawl space that's a problem. It's called the RTE solution. Remove, treat, and encap, because it does no good to remove the mold if you don't make the steps available to prevent it from ever coming back again. And wait, now through June 30th, you can get $500 off the purchase of any RTE mold treatment from USS. Ask them how when you make the call to USS or go online at USSTN.com. That's $500 off the purchase of any mold treatment by calling 615-488-7855, 488-7855, or USSTN.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
156 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll get some of your reaction. You didn't have to do all that. Gosh. And some of your reaction to our conversation with Senator Carrie Roberts, who he and I have texted back and forth, and we're all good. We're all good, but many of you don't like my passion on the issue. I promise to be less passionate on these issues involving illegal aliens in the United States of America. I promise to be nicer to the people that are stopping what I consider to be legislation that might help in regard to pushing the federal government to do more on this issue. Is that fair? Is that fair? I'll tell you somebody that's fair. My man Mark from the Safe House, he's joining me on the show right now to talk about some of the safes they've got and talk about some of the sad activity that's going on around our community. Mark, what is happening, my brother? How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm kind of afraid you're not going to yell at me or anything, are you?
No. I've been told by the listening audience that I should not be passionate about these issues, that I should just sit back and let the politicians speak. So I'm going to do that. Now, you're no politician, Mark.
No, I was watching you online. And I agree with a lot of what you're saying. So,
well, I mean, it is what it is.
Your brother.
Hey, look, what's going on at the Safe House? I talk about you all the time. I wanted to talk with you for a minute because, I mean, it is it's crazy the amount of robberies that I'm hearing about it in and around Nashville, but they're happening. And I know that it's, we want to whistle past the graveyard, so to speak, but we need to deal with some of this, right?
Well, I'm all too aware of it. I'm right across the street from the Nashville City Cemetery, but we're kind of in a unique position. We get a lot of people coming in telling us about break-ins, either their own or a neighbor's. And one reason I wanted to talk to you, I had a couple of people come in. These thieves are putting cameras in people's yards, and they're air tagging their house and to tell other people, when people aren't at home. And I had a customer came in and told me he had this happen to him last week, and his house was, they attempted to break into it, and they came home early and scared him off. But, I mean, this is, I have people weekly that come in that their houses have been broken into in all the areas around Nashville.
So, I mean, the obvious solution here is to protect yourself. You got to protect those things that protect the family. You got to protect the valuables. And, for most of us that have a safe, Mark, it seems a no-brainer. But for those who don't, they need to come see you, right?
Well, we're the number one leader, in Tennessee protecting your valuables and with a safe. So I've been doing it 31 years. So,
man, y'all are great.
Great selection. I mean, you've been down here. I mean, best selection in the state. And,
in the world.
We deliver and install.
I say in the world, Mark. In the world. I'll fight you on it.
Well, in the world. We are the number one brownie dealer in the world.
I have yet to see a safe company with more safe selection than you have at the Safe House. Go see Mark at the Safe House. We're out of time. Mark, thank you so much for your time today. We'll continue talking about Mark and the Safe House. Go see him. 4th Avenue South. We'll be back.
News. I'm Chuck Sievertson. For the second time in 3 months, the Senate voted down a border security measure negotiated earlier this year by both Republicans and Democrats. At the Capitol, ABC's Jay O'Brien.
Why put this on the floor? It's Chuck Schumer trying to put Republicans on the record as to how they're going to vote for this deal. That was a bipartisan deal that Republicans helped negotiate.
Republicans blocked the bill earlier this year at the direction of former President Trump. Announcing more economic cooperation on high-tech and other industries, President Biden welcoming Kenya's President William Ruto to the White House.
I'm proud to announce we're working with Congress to designate Kenya a major non-NATO ally. That's a fulfillment of years of collaboration.
In a 6-3 decision, conservatives versus liberals, the Supreme Court preserved a Republican-held South Carolina congressional district, rejecting a lower court ruling that said the district discriminated against black voters. Another notable flag thing.
It's called the Appeal to Heaven flag, and it features a green pine tree on a white field. It was carried by George Washington's troops in the Revolutionary War, but it was also carried by rioters at the Capitol on January 6th, and it was seen flying shooting last year outside the Jersey Shore beach house of Justice Samuel Alito. That after an upside-down American flag was seen flying outside Alito's home in Northern Virginia. The two flag incidents have led to growing calls for Alito to recuse himself from cases involving the January 6th riot.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy. Big travel day update, ABC's Alex Stone.
With thunderstorm threats today from Texas through the south and up the East Coast, air travel could be on the verge of getting much worse as the day goes on. Over 3,000 flights have been delayed in the U.S. on this busy travel day. LaGuardia Airport in New York is leading the world in canceled and delayed flights. Newark Liberty is toward the top of the list as well, impacting United and American Airlines.
You're listening to ABC News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and if you don't have health insurance, if you have health insurance that is just subpar, or if you're concerned about the cost of your health insurance, I want you to listen up, because your health plan man, my guy, Pat Davis, can help. And he is truly your healthcare concierge. I was having a conversation just the other day about Pat Davis, and here's a wonderful thing. If you have any questions or any concerns, if you have frustrations with your current plan, whatever your need might be, and even if you are a part of your Health Plan Man team, Pat Davis is here for you. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call one of his team members or Pat himself, and he'll be able to answer those questions directly. You don't get that with insurance companies, the big boy insurance companies. You get put in a phone tree and you don't know, dial this for that and dial one for this and that for the other thing. Not so with Pat Davis. He's going to explain it for you in a way that you understand it, and he's going to save you money. That's what it's all about, providing you excellent health care coverage for less money, and pay for what you get and get what you pay for and not anything else. That's what it's about at Your Health Plan Man. Go to yourhealthplanman.com. That's yourhealthplanman.com, or call 855-475-2662, 855-475-2662 for Your Health Plan Man, yourhealthplanman.com. All right, here we are. Here we go. We're getting right back into it. I want to get to as many of your telephone calls reacting to our conversation. Somewhat rambunctious conversation with Senator Carrie Roberts. By the way, just so you know, Carrie and I are fine. We're all good. As far as it goes, we had some disagreements about his reasoning behind not supporting legislation that would increase penalties for those who choose to transport illegal aliens into the United States of America and into the state of Tennessee. So with that in mind, he said, you know, we're good. We care. We're going to be passionate. Thank you for having me on the show. And I said the same. Many of you reflecting on the nature of the interview, I admit that I get very passionate. I admit that I get very frustrated with politicians that seem to be talking like politicians, which is what I encountered with Carrie Roberts. I get very frustrated when people tell me that they can't do things that I believe will benefit the state of Tennessee. Illegal immigration is our largest single current existential threat in the United States of America. Long term, we have a threat that exists with our debt, our $34 trillion in debt. But I believe that the single greatest existential threat in the United States of America is illegal immigration, how it will transform the United States. And so when I have a politician telling me that they couldn't do things because they didn't define illegal immigration or illegal alien, they couldn't do things because, they didn't work on the bill good enough. And then when asked, why didn't you take it up and why didn't you do it? Well, that's not my job. That's what Carrie Roberts said, but it wasn't his job. So with that in mind, Anthony might have some thoughts on all of this. Hey, Anthony, how are you?
I'm great. How about you, Matt?
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not here to dog you, but I'm here to dog the listeners on Members Nutrition Super Text line. Either they want you to hold them accountable, which is holding their feet to the fire, which is what you did, or they don't want you to, and they want to just be bleeding heart liberals and let them continue on for another however many years. I don't understand. They do this to you every time. Every time you get a politician on, they talk to you, and it gets heated, and they start attacking you. I'm like, what is this? It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen or heard. I'm like, either you want Matt to do your job for you, which is hold them accountable, or you don't, and you want to dog Matt. It's like, pick a side. I don't get it.
Well, Anthony, thank you. I mean, no, look, here's the deal. I know that I'm off-putting to some people because I get very frustrated, and I wield a certain level of control during my show. And so when I have someone on and I know that it is a frustration amongst the listening audience. Look, I'm not so narcissistic that I'm not aware of some of my faults. And I admit that it is a fault of mine when I start hearing Bravo Sierra being spewed at me, that I stop, I yell that down. I admit that. And that is a failure of mine. If you want to accuse me of being rude, I accept the accusation. And all I can tell you is that I'm 50 years old and I'm working on it. That's all I can tell you. But we'll get back into that in just a moment. I want to talk about something, frankly, as important in a very different way. And it's a wonderful, wonderful organization that I'm so proud to be a part of. I don't know if David Corlew listened to my interview and he was shaking his head disappointed in me. Maybe he's not proud that I'm associated with him, but I'm sure proud to be associated with him. It is the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. They are commemorating. I don't even know that I would want to say celebrating, because I wish that we had solved these issues to the point that you didn't get to 10 years, but we have gotten to 10 years with the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. For the last couple of years, I've been a part of the organization, at least in as much as I get to tell you about them, and I get to have wonderful people like David Corlew in my studio. And David joins us this afternoon to talk about his efforts through the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. David, how are you?
Hey, Matt Murphy.
How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good.
How's traffic?
Traffic is traffic. It's Nashville. I mean, I grew up here. I'm generational here, and it's crazy. It's just insane. But
of all the things, I've thought about this the last time we had you on, and I wanted to remind myself to ask you this. I know you can't go home again, and the more the world changes, it stays the same and all these things. But growing up in Nashville, if there was one thing that I said, David, you can magically have this back that we've lost as a city, and maybe it's a concept, maybe it's a building, maybe it's an area of town. If I told you, David, you could have this back in Nashville right now, what would it be?
I think in a general sense, it would be that Nashville was a small town and had a small town mentality. And as it grew, the area square miles of it grew. It always had a small town feel to it. And now that it's changed and it's growing, just so insane that I miss that. Coming up over here, I came from West End. I went by Centennial Park when I was a kid. I sold papers out in front of Centennial Park, and it used to be just this little park that was innocent and fun and all the street kids.
David's so old, he remembers Centennial Park when they called it Decade Park.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
I wish I had a drum line for that.
No, that's great. And I am old. Trust me, I accept that. But, man, I grew up at the corner of Murphy Road in West End, and to show you about to talk about growth. Nashville in 1962, we were forced out of our home. I grew up rough. I grew up on the streets. The city, county, whoever the commission that was building 440, we were forced out of our house. Now there was 10 of us in a 5-room house, so we were. That was a rough neighborhood,
right?
And I say rough; it was just a low income housing.
Poor.
Yeah, we were poor and proud of it. I'm like Bill Anderson. I'm poor, but I'm proud. And
if the wolves had come to our front door, they would have had brought a picnic lunch.
It took them 20 years. They went right through us because they told my granddad, either sell at the price you're offered or we're going to condemn it and you don't get anything. So we had to move. It took them another 22 years to cut 440 through Green Hills and through that area because those folks they had lawyers and they fought it. So I had to move in the 60s, and I think it took another 20 years to build 440 through there. So
you've seen a lot of changes.
Lots and lots. And it changes every day.
Some of the changes are good, and it transitions to the topic at hand. I remember when I was a kid, I'm a little bit younger than you. Not much, but a little bit. But I remember when I was a kid not understanding the reaction, and this was well past the returning home of the veterans from the Vietnam War. What I saw was the wave of people saying, hey, we did this wrong, right? I didn't really see the reaction of the soldiers coming home. But I did see in the mid-1980s, there was something of a pushback against what happened to them in the late 1970s. And it was a good thing.
Right.
And said, wait a minute, this was wrong. The way that we treated these men, primarily men, obviously, we need to repair this in some way. And I appreciated seeing that even as a child, recognition of those that keep us free, those that in some cases make the ultimate sacrifice. But that was 45 years ago, and we've still not made good on that promise fully. And I think that's why you guys exist. Tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, that we're not embracing the soldier, the American serviceman, in the way that I think we should.
America went to war, and the United States went to the mall. It's out of sight, out of mind. We had veterans. We've had soldiers that have, obviously that's what this weekend's about, is the sacrifice of life for country. And in reality, military is a nonpartisan issue, and supporting veterans is a nonpartisan issue. We should all be thankful for that, the freedom, as you talk about so much, and we all talk about freedom of saying what we want, our Second Amendment rights, all the rights we have given to us by God in the Constitution. And then now we live in this time period where politics has gotten involved, and we went through the Afghanistan deal, and then all of a sudden you have veterans not only with their own personal issues and their own coming home, their journey home, and that reintegration and rehabilitation, but then the government is kind of switched on them. And so that gives that feeling of emptiness, of loss, and you get a guy, as we deal with, we're calling it operator syndrome, these guys that, Rangers and Green Berets and SEALs and those guys that did multiple deployments. I mean, you're talking about tons of missions. I saw, there's a gentleman that runs the greatest, one of the best rehab clinics there are in the country. It's called Warrior's Heart. His name is Tom Spooner. I saw him on an interview. I know Tom. We work with Tom. We send veterans to his center in San Antonio and in Virginia. He has 40 months of combat on his record. Not 40 months of service, 40 months of back-to-back combat. And you take guys like that
in the field of battle.
In the field of battle, being shot at and every day.
Cannot imagine.
And
I mean, I don't know that I even want to.
So people don't know that, and I think that's what our job is day to day with partners like 99.7 is to try to educate people on the severity of what the transition is about.
And for each member of the military that does come home and needs some form of assistance, it's different. One of the reasons that, let's be honest. I mean, Charlie's name and your name carry weight. And so when you hear that something is supported by David Corlew and Charlie Daniels, we believe that we can support it as well, first and foremost, right? But then you start learning more about what you guys do, and it makes you realize how different every single person that comes back, every single service member that comes back, some of them come back and they're A-okay. That physically, mentally, they've been able to absorb the scars of war, the scars of service. Some of them are not A-okay. And when they're not, it can manifest itself in so many different ways. And that's the beauty of what you and Charlie put together 10 years ago, right, is that you don't try to be a one-size-fits-all for every service member. You try to find those organizations that are right for each unique situation and make that match together.
100%. And what I wanted to say is that we talk about that spectrum, that Ranger, Green Beret, SEAL spectrum, the operators, as we call them. But we believe, and it was Charlie's deep belief, if you left home, you don't even have to be a veteran. If you leave your home and children and what you have back in Nashville or back in hometown USA, and you leave for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever it is, when you come home, you could have been in an administrative job in D.C., but when you come home, your life is different. Things have changed. Your spouse has been dealing with problems that you either have guilt for not dealing with them or being absent. There's children born while you're deployed, wherever that is. You don't have to be being shot at every day. The traumatic, the trauma of leaving home. I mean, think about it. If you had to call home today and say, I've got to leave in 2 days, and I don't know when I'm going to come home.
That in and of itself.
How does that affect your family?
Right, that in and of itself.
Your dog, your family.
Right.
Your house.
And forget the fact that we're talking about people when they say that over the arc of the life of the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, that they're going into places where people are trying to kill them.
Exactly.
In environments that we've never, you would never experience but for putting on the uniform and serving your country.
The trauma that a lot of these men and women have faced is unbelievable. Some of it's unspeakable. And then again, like I say, just the personal trauma of being away from those that love you and you love them pain is universal. And I posted it the other day. Pain is a mandate in life. Misery is a choice. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get out of that misery. We want to get these men and women out of that misery.
Did you ever think that it would, I guess that's the idea, that this would carry on for as long as it has. It's been 10 years now. Did you consider it when you and Charlie started the project that it?
Never considered it one bit. We just thought that if we were going to raise money, we had raised money for years for other organizations, and then the organizations started hitting bumps, and so we decided that if we were going to raise money in Charlie's name, then we should be the stewards of that money and guarantee that money ends up in the right place the best we can and to help the right people. So that's where Journey Home Project came from. And when Charlie passed away, everything stopped. It's kind of like time stood still.
How long ago was it?
It'll be 4 years in July. Yeah, it'll be 4 years.
I bet you don't think about him very much, do you?
You know what? There's something that comes up every day that I think about it, and then there's some days, I was driving through Mount Juliet the other day, and I just took a hard right and went to the gravesite and stopped in and just checked in.
Stop by, check in, say hello.
Stop by, check in, and Charlie provided, obviously, the Journey Home Project is my life now. I'll spend the rest of my life doing this and serving those who have served. But the opportunities that I got from traveling with such a great patriot and being friends with them and learning what I learned. I mean, we saw the cause in the 80s. We were touring every base there was in the Cold War. There was still the soldiers, they weren't fighting. They were gone from home.
That's right.
The
I want to take a quick break. I want to ask you about that. If there's a danger that exists in not having active conflict, or certainly as much. I mean, I know that there's some stuff that happens beneath the surface that we don't see, but we'll ask David Corlew about that in just a moment. He is with the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, spending a little time with him. It's 2:22 on Super Talk. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy here. Heartland Journal is a wonderful organization, and I like talking about good people doing good work in Middle Tennessee. And so Steve Abramowitz has asked me to talk about him and everything he does with Heartland Journal, and I love it. I make a monthly appearance there. We call it Murphy's Law. Steve comes on my show as well. He is a conservative advocate here in Middle Tennessee, in Franklin to be specific, and he always has an interesting guest or two or four on his podcast. It's a very popular podcast, and I invite you to go by and see it at heartlandjournal.com. More on that in a moment. They have authors and artists and cultural touchstone entertainment figures, sports figures, political figures as well. Frequently the number one show in politics on Podomatic right here in our community. On Deezer, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, and all of your favorite podcast apps. You can go to heartlandjournal.com. That's heartlandjournal.com. And tell Steve and his team that you heard about him on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy. And the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Less yelling in the third hour. I did all my yelling in the second hour of the show. No yelling in the third hour. Even if you guys want to, well, there might be some yelling here in a minute if you guys decide to yell at me, but I'm not yelling at anyone else. I got all of that out. And I'm certainly not yelling at our guest, David Corlew. He does great work with the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. And we're talking about their 10th anniversary in existence, started in 2014, and the needs that they have for you to, as you can, open your wallets. I know that you have charitable giving, on your schedule, on your mind. And if so, I beg of you to give to the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project because they do such great work for those who have sacrificed so much for all of us to protect our liberties and freedoms. With that in mind, David, I kind of asked the question on the front end of the commercial break. Afghanistan is done, and we could spend the rest of the show talking about how awful that ended up through no fault of the servicemen and women who were over there, sadly through the fault of leadership, but it is complete. And I feel like mentally, I know that you got a lot of things going on in Ukraine, a lot of things, there are war activities going on, but we are not quote unquote directly involved. And I fear that makes your job a little bit harder to remind people that there are still servicemen that are in need. There are still servicewomen that are in need. There are still people that have come home that have needs that must be met, lest they suffer as a result. Do you experience that?
I do. And before we get into that, if you've got anger, Matt, just hit me. Go ahead, get it out of you. We can do some therapy. Punch me. Feel better. No. There is a need, and I was talking about this yesterday, that now PTS and mental wellness or mental struggles it's become generation. Now we're dealing with kids that either lost a parent, lost a loved one. It's second and third generation now. This PTS is coming. It's dribbling down into families, and so we have children and young adults that are trying to figure out, because of the way the media approaches some of what we've done, and where we were supposed to be in Iraq or not supposed to be in Iraq. Nobody can figure that out. Nobody's going to have the right answer, but the kids are sitting there going, they're hearing this stuff. So it's number one, it's hard to raise money because nobody's feeling the pain. Like in Vietnam, not Vietnam so much, but and it's the tragedy of, there was a time when we were in the Battle of Fallujah, and we were in some of these tough places. We lost 20 men today, and 6 men today, and 5.
It was real.
It was real. It was right in your face. It was right on the TV. Now it's not. You can't find the news, what's going on. We lose servicemen every day. There's guys.
Are we still losing them at a rate of 22 a day to suicide?
It's more 35, 40 a day. It's gone up. The 22 figure was a figure at one point, but what we've realized is the powers to be, I don't want to say the VA, but maybe the VA or whoever comes up with these numbers, they're not counting the auto crashes, the car crashes, the overdoses. None of that goes into suicide, but it's that grief, it's that pain that lives within.
Drinking pain away.
Yeah, drinking,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
And it all of those things, and then the divorce rate, and all of that is just through the roof. And there's such a need for mental wellness. Just 2 weeks ago, just sent a guy to Warrior's Heart in San Antonio. Substance abuse, bad days, bad nights.
And we only have a minute or two left, David, and I apologize for that. But what keeps you going?
What keeps me going is the commitment that Charlie made to the men and women, and then it gives me purpose. It gives an old guy purpose. I love helping people. There's a real just reward, both physically and spiritually, when you serve someone else. It's what Jesus wanted us to do.
That's right.
And there's a real reward of helping and knowing that maybe you made a little bit of a difference in someone's life. And that was all Charlie's touring was based about going to Iraq, Afghanistan, Kosovo, Bosnia, was that he brought a little bit of home to those young men and women.
How can we best get in contact with the organization, and how can we help?
You just have to go on, find it. The Journey Home Project, the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, were easy to find. Just push the button and donate. $5 helps. $2 help. And if you don't,
can you set up like regular contributions on the website?
Yeah, we have a reoccurring donations.
Yeah, that's good.
And what's really incredible is a big part of our reoccurring donations are from other veterans.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is.
It's good for them. Listen, it always resets my mind as to what the important things are. Yelling at politicians, very secondary when you stop by, and I appreciate everything that you've done. I appreciate everything that the project has done over 10 years in this community, and God bless you guys for doing the Lord's work.
Well, keep yelling at them, because yelling at them helps us wake them up and get them centered on what is important. And
I need to start the Matt Murphy wing of this. If any veteran wants to come on air and yell at a politician, I'll give them a forum to do it.
Let's put them in a box. Let's contain them.
David, thank you for everything, man.
God bless you.
Yeah, God bless you as well. Go to the CharlieDanielsJourneyHomeProject.org website today and give as you can. 2:33 on Super Talk. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief is located in Franklin, and they were a lifesaver when I first came into town. I want to tell you that story because I'll tell you, I had both upper and lower back pain, and it was debilitating. I mean, I was 48 years old. I felt like I was still a little bit bulletproof, but no, not so. I was down in the back, and I knew I needed to do something about it. Along comes the Dr. Gill Center. Dr. Gill explains to me about spinal decompression and how when your spine compresses, it's going to cause pain on the nerves, and you can decompress, literally kind of stretch the back out, get hydration in there as needed, and it can solve the pain at the source without having to cover it up with pills, without having to worry about needles, and certainly without having to consider surgery. My upper neck pain that I thought was stress-related wasn't. It was a compression, and it is solved. I don't have a problem in my neck anymore. My lower back's a little more of a long-term deal, but I'll tell you, I don't take pills every day like I used to, and I certainly am not considering surgery like I was prior to the Dr. Gill Center. You could be the next patient. You could be the next success story. For less than $50, they'll go through your entire profile. They'll find out what's going on with you. They'll get you some x-rays, and they'll get you a plan of action going. 615-882-4838. 882-4838, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Just saying goodbye to David Corlew. Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. God bless you, David. Everything you do. I mean, that's the reason I'm here. You know, and by the way, you can call in 615-737-9986. I feel like I deserve it. Just lash me with your telephone calls. Tongue lash me with admonishments that I'm a bad talk show host for yelling at a guest. But let me tell you this. As poorly as I may or may not have engaged with Senator Carrie Roberts, who was part of our 1 o'clock hour, let me tell you something. The reason that I am here is to serve the audience by presenting David Corlew and the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project and things like that. It is everything that we want in a charitable organization. And I look for those places. I look for those things that I say. You know, I was talking with someone recently about Men of Valor. And that organization and the great work that they do in our prison system to stop the scourge of recidivism, to promote the idea that we can get these guys back on the right path, not every single one of them, but many of them, by turning to a faith-based approach to do so. They do the same thing at the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project with our men and women that come back from military service who are in a bad way. And what great work they do. And if anything, through all the yelling and the screaming and all of the frustration about what our politicians are or are not doing, if we can provide the service to bring the community together in our effort to do right by our political figures, or not political figures, tag with them, by our military men and women, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about for me. So I so do appreciate David Corlew, and I appreciate everything that they do over at the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. And it's a privilege. I mean it when I say this about anyone that you hear me talking about, any organization you hear me talking about, but truly, regardless of what you think of me, and I know I'm just a jerk. I'm just a loudmouth with a talk radio show. Please support these organizations like Men of Valor and the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. This is the way we should be doing it. Government comes in, they take these things over, and they ruin them. They ruin them. Government doesn't do anything well. Government's not the solution to your problems. Government is the problem. But when you find wonderful organizations such as these that can provide needed relief in a direct way and do so in a way that doesn't drain the coffers of our money that we send to government to do the government's business, I've long said, sadly, it is the case that when you find yourself in a community and you look to right wrongs or you look to address problems that exist within that community, and your church groups are there for you, your community and charitable groups are there for you, your family is there for you. If you find something that's going on negatively in your life, these are the places that we should reach out to. Family and community and charity and church. The 3 C's and the F. The F being family, but beyond that, the 3 C's, community, charity, and church. And when government steps in, they do things less efficiently or not at all, and they make those systems go away. They cease to exist because government comes in and takes it over. So when I find organizations like this doing it the right way and offering us the ability to generously donate as much as we choose when we choose, I try to promote them. Ernie is next, talking donations and donating. Hey, Ernie.
Man, I just turned my radio on because I was at the VA at the doctor's office, and if you could give me that number right before I get off, I'll if I can make it on my credit card, I will. I spent a Sunday afternoon visiting with Charlie Daniels. It's kind of touching to me because I was at Cumberland Heights. I drank hard for 20 years after I come home from Vietnam, and I finally, by the grace of God, put it behind me. Well, Charlie was over there on a Sunday afternoon visiting Joe S. which was one of his managers, and Joe and I had become pretty close friends. Charlie and I sat out on the porch and in the rocking chair, and he was a super person. And then he went on through life and started this journey home, and of course I was on the road somewhere between here and California, but I got off of that stuff. It like to kill me. VA had a thing called base camp when I come home from overseas, but I wasn't no success in it. But when I went to Coleman Heights, November the 20th, 1987, I hadn't had a drink since. And I just kind of wanted to share that with you guys. I've talked to you before, and it's just a wonderful thing that we got people like Charlie that to fall back on, that he set something up. If any of that makes any sense.
It all makes sense, Ernie, and I appreciate you calling. I appreciate you relating your story. What were your years of service, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, I got drafted in the highlight in I guess 1967. My Uncle Sam had me grayed out, Fort Campbell, Fort Bragg, Vietnam.
Yeah.
And as dumb as it sounds, when I got home in 1968, I was homesick for those damn guys I served with, and I almost went back in the military. I excelled in the military. I was a buck sergeant, and we've had reunions, a couple of them, and I was very close to those guys. But when I went to Vietnam, it was the only show in town. I was an artillery and ended up on a gun truck. It was a great experience. I'd hate to have to go through it again.
No, I mean, obviously, I would hate for you to have to. Have you been to Washington, D.C., Ernie, to see the memorial?
No, I have not. No, sir.
Gosh,
I've got old and I'm on a cane now, but I'll have to say VA does a pretty good job. But that base camp that they had set up in 68, or 69, I don't know. It didn't really. But Cumberland Heights did. Golly, they took care of this old trucker.
Ernie, God bless you. Thank you for sharing your story. If you go over, are you internet active, Ernie? Do you get online?
I can't. My daughter has to take care of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
For me, Matt. I can use the phone, but it's a generation thing, and maybe I
get it. It's all good. It's all good. My grandpa never touched a computer in his life, so I was going to point you in the direction of the website. I tell you what you do. Use your phone. Do you text? Can you text?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Text me at the number you called this number at, and I'll get you a hold of the folks over at the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. But if you just text 615-737-9986, I'll get you hooked up, okay?
I've got your number in my phone because I've called you before.
Love it. Just text that number.
Text right now.
Text that number. Thank you, Ernie. God bless you. Oh, I didn't mean premature caller rejection. I didn't mean to cut you off that quickly, Ernie. My apologies. We need to get you to Washington, D.C., too. One of the most memorable and emotional experiences of my life was going to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. I'd seen it on television. I'd seen film reels about it. I'd been told about it. I never expected the emotions that came out of me when I saw it with my own eyes. It was, and they save everything. Quick story, and I know I've got Brian Ritchie on the line, but quick story, so they don't know. Vietnam veterans leave a lot of things at the memorial. And those that control the memorial want to honor the memory of the individuals that are having items left for them, whether it's a pack of cigarettes or a cigarette or a beer or they have had motorcycles left at the memorial. They have had, obviously, flowers. They save it all. They don't throw anything away. If anything is left at the memorial, which so many people, and who knew this would happen, because of the names, people leave items at the memorial, oftentimes accompanied with notes. More often than not, these are individuals that got back from Vietnam and their fellow soldiers did not. And they made promises in those foxholes, and they honored those promises. And they save it all. They catalog it all. And they display some of it in the Smithsonian Museum of War, the War Museum. And it was there that I read, there was a can of beer left, for example, and a note that said, we always promised that we would have that beer together when we got out of this hellhole. Well, I'm honoring my end of that promise. And in the display is the note and one open can of beer and one can of beer left for his buddy that never came home. It's quite something. Hey, Brian Ritchie's with us real quick. I want to get Brian in here because he was good enough to call. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Matt?
I'm great. I'm limited on time, Brian. Maybe we can hook up a little more lengthy conversation tomorrow or early next week. But I'm curious if you feel like I was disrespectful to our friend Senator Carrie Roberts or not.
No, I don't. I think what you were saying, that's where the passion for me and Senator Hensley introducing this legislation and the conversations there with judiciary, the concerns the week before, he failed to mention that. The bill had come up a previous week before they decided to kill it, and they shared what concerns they had. Senator Hensley and me met. We sat down with the other folks. We brought another amendment back, and not once was it ever addressed, concern or anything that, the definition of illegal immigrant is not defined. And when he mentioned about a bus driver, the actual bill language is somebody who's transporting an illegal into the state of Tennessee. So his example of a bus driver in Williamson County, I don't know how many bus drivers are driving outside of the state to go pick up juveniles and come back in, but that would be illegal. So there was a lot of things that he said, and although I'm elected, I still feel like I'm not a politician. There's a lot of very political politician answers that were in there, and that's what the Tennesseans are just fed up with.
Well, and I'm guilty. You know me, Brian. I mean, I yell too much sometimes, but I get passionate about these things because, and that was more than anything. I felt like I was talking to a politician, and I hate it. And that's what it roughed me up a little bit the wrong way, that he was parsing the language as if we can't clearly define what illegal immigrants are. Hey, hold on for a second, Brian. I want to invite Brian on the show tomorrow or early next week, so I'm going to do that in just a moment. But I've got to go right now. But Brian, I apologize to suspend the conversation so quickly, but maybe we can get State Representative Brian Ritchie, who was a part of the sponsorship of this legislation that devolved into the argument that was in the 1 o'clock hour. It's 2:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy, Defend Systems on my mind. Defend Systems is your one-stop shop for all things life safety and consultation in the state of Tennessee. Defend Systems is a great company with great leadership. And, Brink Fiddler doesn't like me to say this, but he is great. I mean, he's fine at what he does, and I've watched him do it on multiple occasions. Almost 20 years of experience in the Metro Nashville Police Department he's parlayed that into a life safety and security consultation firm based right here in Middle Tennessee. Here's the bottom line. We live in a dangerous world full of dangerous people, and they want to do dangerous and bad things to you. So if you are concerned about that at all, give Defense Systems a call. Let him speak to your assembled group, whether it's a church organization, a school group, or employees at a company. Cumulus Nashville does this. You should do it as well. Go to defensesystems.com or 615-236-6484 for Defense Systems.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN winding things down. Good to talk with Brian Wilson of The Drive. He gives us a little of his time before his show to let us know what's going on. What's happening, Brian? Hello, Mr. Wilson. How are you? How are you? Yes.
Are you there? Can you hear me?
I'm here. I can hear you good.
Okay.
Mason, just crank him up. Crank that music down. Crank him up. Let's go.
All right. So we got a lot of good stuff coming up today. We're going to be talking about this amazing exchange that reveals the kind of judges that Joe Biden is pushing through. They're bragging, and it's true, that there have been about 200 judges approved, Biden judges approved so far in his presidency, and the kind of people that they're putting on the bench is very, very scary. And then inflation. You know that the Bidenomics and all that kind of stuff. You're going to be shocked, stunned, and amazed just how much things that you buy every day have gone up in a dramatic way since Joe Biden took the oath of office. We're going to go through fast food, for example. A cheap burger at a fast food place is not so cheap anymore. But it happens incrementally and you don't notice it. But it's really quite shocking how much that kind of stuff has gone up.
I like to say that you can't lie your way out of the grocery. Democrats can't lie their way out of the grocery store or the gas station, right? I mean, they just can't do it.
I agree.
Are you going Ted Cruz or are you going Kennedy or both on this?
Well, I love the Ted Cruz sound a whole lot. Kennedy was good, but I mean, Ted Cruz just annihilated that poor woman.
Well,
so we'll have that coming up right after the news.
I absolutely love it. And for those who have not heard it, you got to listen to The Drive and listen to Brian's analysis on this. It's great, great stuff. And that's coming up in mere moments, mere seconds after McMurray and the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Have a wonderful afternoon, folks. Enjoy The Drive. We'll talk to you tomorrow at high noon. Until then, so long, everybody.